Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Canal Algérie News, and these are our top stories. The President of the Republic chaired a meeting on Monday about the Emir Abdelkader feature film project and the revival of Algeria's film industry. After Saturday's bus accident in Bni Abbas, Army General Saeed Chingriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of People's National Army, checked on Monday the injured at Army Central Hospital in Ain Najah. In its latest issue, Al Jaish magazine highlights the progress of the National Renewal Project and the importance of everyone's duty, as well as the country's history as a backbone of the nation. The national press condemns political media campaign led by hostile French groups, and questions are being raised about France has become a safe haven for those persecuted in Algeria. Welcome back. The President of the Republic, Majid Tebboune, chaired a meeting this Monday dedicated to the feature film project on Emir Abdelkader in particular, and the revival of the film industry sector in Algeria in general. The meeting was held in the presence of the Director of the Cabinet at the Presidency of the Republic, Boualem Boualem, the Advisor of the President of the Republic in charge of the Directorate General of Communication, Kamal Sidi Said, the Minister of Culture and Arts, Malika Bendouda, the Special Advisor to the Presidency of the Republic for Cinema Sector, Faisal Mitawi, the Advisor to the Minister of Culture and Arts, Abdelkader Jum'a, the Director of the Emir Abdelkader Institute, Selim Agar, and the producer and director Anwar Haj Ismail. In the tragic accident that took place last Saturday in the province of Bni Abbas, which caused the death of 14 civilians, including 2 military members, and many injured, Army General Saeed Chingriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, visited the 19th wounded, including 4 civilians and 15 members of the PNA, who were evacuated to the Army Central Hospital in Najah to receive the necessary treatment. Menab Buga.
Army General Saeed Chingriha, Deputy Minister of National Defense, Head of State, Major of the National People's Army, accompanied by the Central Director of Military Health Services of the Ministry of National Defense, visited the wounded at the Army Central Hospital in Ain Najah this Monday morning in the 1st Military Region.
صباح الخير ربي يجيب الشفاء. كوراج دفعات بلا نقولوا رصاص. هاي تعيات تبرى وتخرج ان شاء الله بالسلامه. صباح الخير. خير صافا. وين تخدم نتايا؟
كنت نخدم في تيندو في تاع الشونطيات، تسكن في وهران انا.
تسكن في وهران. انت مدني.
مدني.
ربي يجيب الشفاء.
امين.
يقوموا بك هنا ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله. انت مدني ولا عسكري؟
عسكري.
عسكري. وين تخدم؟
لواء 32 شيء.
اللواء 32 برج العقيد اللطفي. ايوا. وي كوراج برك. ربي يجيب الشفاء ان شاء الله.
He visited all of the patients, asking them about their condition and their health status at the moment.
Yes. سلامات. درك يقوموا بك هنايا. وين تخدم؟
حسي خبي.
نعم؟
حسي خبي.
حسي خبي. ربي يجيب الشفاء ان شاء الله. ان شاء الله. كوراج برك. نتمنى لك الشفاء ان شاء الله. ان شاء الله. انت وخوتك. ربي يجيب الشفاء ان شاء الله.
رشيس.
دو رشيس. ربي يجيب الشفاء ان شاء الله. تعيا تبرى وتخرج. وخبرت الوالدين؟
ايه لبانا.
خبرتهم؟ ايه. طمنهم شويه.
ايه طمنهم.
ايوه داكور. ربي يجيب الشفاء إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله. وي. تبرأ وتخرج إن شاء الله بالسلامة إن شاء الله.
آمين.
أتمنى لك الشفاء العاجل.
آمين.
أيوة. هيا بالسلامة، كوراج برك. ربي يجيب الشفاء. الوالدين على بالهم؟ خبرتهم؟ طمنتهم شوية؟
الحمد لله. البارح جاتني العجوز.
نعم؟
البارح جات العجوز.
البارح جاتك العجوز. وي. ربي يجيب لك الشفاء إن شاء الله وتخرج بالسلام.
He reassured the injured patients and their families, showing them support and wishing them a prompt recovery.
In the latest issue, El Jaish magazine highlights the completion of the National Renewal Project and emphasizes on the role of everyone in this stage. Algeria is making progress across all sectors, from energy to infrastructure, including industry and housing, with the idea that development depends not only on the authorities, but on the participation of all. Details with Najah Diyal.
As the year 2025 draws to a close, Algeria takes stock of a period marked by the acceleration of major national projects and profound transformation of its economic model. This dynamic, as highlighted by the magazine of El Jaish in its editorial entitled Completing the National Renewal Project, Everyone's Responsibility, reflects the country's determination to build a diversified, competitive economy that is less dependent on hydrocarbons. In the recent years, efforts deployed in strategic sectors such as industry, agriculture, energy and mining, as well as infrastructure and social programs, have begun to bear fruit, a point emphasized by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, during his recent visit to Constantine, where he stated that Algeria has overcome every challenge it faced. He affirmed that the coming year will mark a new and genuine turning point that will definitively lead the country towards security, adding that the economic situation is under control and that all indicators are positive. Among the flagship projects, the magazine El Jaish recalls in its editorial the enhancement of the national mining potential, the Garjbilat iron ore project and the Bled El Hadba phosphate project in Tbisa are preparing to enter production, two major levers that will allow Algeria to strengthen its position on global markets for strategic raw materials. In just a year and a half, the Bashar Tindouf mining railway line has been completed and it's about to enter service. Another line dedicated to phosphate transport will soon connect Tbisa to Annaba. In the water sector, newly built desalination complexes have enabled the country to reach unprecedented levels of water security. Algeria is also investing in its youth, 10,000 startups today, with a goal of reaching 20,000 by 2029 and over 17,000 registered investment projects. The editorial further adds that the housing sector is progressing at high speed, confirming the social vocation of the state and its commitment to ensuring a dignified life for citizens. At the same time, the Algerian diplomacy continues to assert the country's voice on the international stage, remaining faithful to its positions, particularly in support of the Sahrawi and Palestinian causes. The editorial also stresses that throughout this renewal process, the People's National Army plays a central role. Heir to the National Liberation Army, it ensures security, stability, and the strengthening of the sovereignty. The Army General Saeed Shingariha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of the National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, reiterated this by stating that the historical experience has proven that countries relying on their own forces and internal components are better equipped than others to confront external threats. El Jaish editorial concludes by affirming that although major milestones have been achieved, the task ahead remains vast and the success of the National Renewal Project will depend on unity, mobilization and the commitment of all. Algeria moves forward with confidence into a new phase, stronger, more sovereign and resolutely oriented toward the future.
El Jaish magazine also included an article that sheds light on Algeria's history as the backbone of the nation and the source of its identity and cohesion, stressing that defending this legacy against falsification attempt is a collective and historical duty. Najah Diyal once again.
Preserving the most precious legacy left by our illustrious ancestors and safeguarding their sacred trust requires an internal connection to our glorious history and our authentic memory, which is the pulse of our land and the artery that nourishes its present and future. It is the guiding light for successive generations as they forge paths toward building a strong, secure and prosperous homeland, drawing inspiration from the rich values of our illustrious ancestors, values imbued with the highest meaning of loyalty, devotion, heroism and sacrifice. Al-Jaish magazine emphasizes that in recent years, discourses labeled by many observers as revisionist have emerged, propagated by certain individuals presented themselves as analysts or experts under the guise of freedom of expression or intellectual pluralism. They challenge fundamental symbols and attempt to show doubt around the historical benchmarks that shape the national identity. While the divergence of opinion is a recognized principle, it cannot serve as a pretext for undermining collective memory or threatening the foundations of the state. Algeria's history is marked by decisive episodes of successive popular resistances, culminating in the birth of the National Liberation Army, born of the people and driven by an unwavering will to reclaim sovereignty usurped by the colonialism. This noble struggle forged a nation united around the November Pledge and the project of building a free, independent and sovereign state. The men and women who carried this fight have inscribed their names in collective memory through their courage, dedication and sense of duty. Their legacy today constitutes a moral bulwark against attempts at identity destruction. National memory cannot be reduced to approximate narratives or manipulated for personal, political or mercenary purposes. The magazine further notes that for broad segments of society, this memory represents a red line. Neither negotiation nor relativization can be accepted when it concerns the foundations of national identity. Defending history is not merely a matter of discourse but a national imperative aimed at ensuring the continuity of the state and transmitting values to future generations despite attempts at destabilization. The Algerian people's attachment to their past remains intact. National unity, forged through adversity, remains the central pillar of the country's resilience. This cohesion now constitutes a major strategic resource for facing contemporary challenges, rooted in its historical, geographical, and cultural depth. Algeria continues its march toward development with confidence and loyalty to its national constants. The preservation of its unity and the safeguarding of its memory, considered the true compass for its future, concludes Al-Jaish magazine.
Instructed by the President of the Republic, Al-Majid Tebboune, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, arrived on Monday in Bratislava. This official visit reflects the shared commitment of Algeria and Slovakia to strengthen bilateral relations, recently confirmed by the exchange of diplomatic representations. During his visit, the minister will meet Slovak officials and inaugurate the new Algerian embassy in Slovak capital. The Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, held a video conference on Monday with IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi following the commitments made during Grossi's visit to Algeria last October. In this occasion, both parties signed a joint declaration to strengthen cooperation between Algeria and the IAEA, notably by boosting technical assistance to Algeria through study on peaceful uses of nuclear energy in electricity production, health, seawater desalination and agriculture. Let's listen.
We are putting pen to paper on this joint statement. Honestly, it feels like we are, and it is my personal feeling, that we are opening a new chapter with the International Atomic Energy Agency. A bigger chapter, a bolder chapter, and more exciting chapter. It is indeed the door wide open to new areas of cooperation in the shape of a comprehensive study on small modular reactors to seawater desalination, smarter water management with nuclear technology, as well as game-changing applications in agriculture. In short, I sincerely believe that we are taking our cooperation to a higher and more significant level. Let me also say how delighted we were last November when the Board of Governors approved the Technical Cooperation Program for 2026-2027, a program which included a project for Algeria on building national capacity to produce radioisotopes and radiopharmaceuticals for diagnosis and treatment. For us, producing these cancer medicines ourselves is not just a technical project. It is a national priority of strategic dimension in our fight against cancer. And because Algeria never thinks alone and thinks only of itself, strengthening our own capacities also means we can do more for the whole region. Through the Rays of Hope initiative, as well as through other flagship initiatives and regional projects, we are ready to share what we learn with our African brothers and sisters inside and outside the EFRA framework. Mr. Director General and dear Raphael, while I have the floor, let me salute your outstanding leadership. What you have accomplished at the helm of the International Atomic Energy Agency is truly remarkable. We admire you. Algeria will keep supporting you all the way, both on the promotional side and on the non-proliferation side of your mandate.
This Monday morning marked the end of the 4th edition of the African Startup Conference. This event was the starting point of several collaborations through the signing of many MOUs and contracts between major companies and emerging startups. Report by Amira Sifta, taken up by Mena Boubaga.
One slogan, the third and final day of the African Startup Conference, was marked by the signing of numerous agreements between the Algerian and African startups, focusing in particular on technology development, mobility, digital solutions, and blue economy. Several partnerships aiming to support the youth in integrating digital solutions and accessing markets were also concluded. Another highlight of the event was the Algerian startup Qarib announcing a successful fundraising campaign, sending a strong signal to the local ecosystem in order to establish itself on a continental scale. Today we celebrated many cooperations between the Algerian and foreign startups, following the initiative that started during the IATF. The goal is to develop new products and services in the continent through this 4th edition in 2025. Delegations from several countries also emphasized the importance of this joint initiative, which places innovative African entrepreneurs at the core of the recent movement. It's one of our goals to be here. We were already in Algeria for the IATF a few months earlier, so we hope the ASC will reinforce our vision for Africa to allow the creation of a new ecosystem integrating different countries, starting with the Made in Africa, from SMEs to MSMEs, for more growth in our continent.
The initiative to support startups is amazing, right? Because it's not every country you go to who would support your startup, even though you're not resident in their country. And I think this is a first, and it's really encouraging for us to let us know that, okay, yes, we are building out of Algeria.
For young entrepreneurs, these agreements mean new opportunities, easier access to financing, and concrete support to transform their ideas into solutions for the Africa we aspire to build.
During a session that brought together startups representatives from national community abroad, Secretary of State in charge of the national community abroad, Sofian Shaib, met with experts to discuss ways to boost their participation in the African Startups Conference, encourage knowledge sharing and explore partnership as well as cooperation opportunities. The meeting was attended by Canal Sidi Said, the advisor of the President of the Republic in charge of the Directorate General Communication, and Nordin Wadah, Minister of Knowledge, Economy, Startups and Micro Enterprises. France has turned into main destination for Algerian ambassadors who received exceptional treatment, all while the same state demands undocumented migrants' deportation and ignores Algeria's recurrent requests of extradition. Manal Boubga.
An article in the daily newspaper Al Mujahid reignites the debate. Paris has become a sanctuary for several Algerian oligarchs on the run, settled in the most exclusive neighborhoods of the French capital, enjoying complete comfort and freedom, far from the convictions handed down against them in Algeria. The daily newspaper describes them as financial predators in tuxedos, accused of embezzling billions of euros from the Algerian treasury. Yet, despite multiple requests from Algiers, the French justice system refuses to move forward on the cases of extradition and restitution of ill-gotten gains. Since 2019, when he was elected head of state, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune has made this his priority. The Algerian justice system claims to have provided all of the necessary evidence, and other European countries have cooperated, but never France. On the contrary, Paris is sending lists of undocumented Algerians to be deported, a double standard denounced by the daily newspaper, which speaks of a true selective indignation. In an article entitled "When Paris Sinks into Its Own Hypocrisy," Le Soir d'Algérie writes that France, in its role as a moralizer, criticizes the Algerian justice system, which has never arrested a French diplomat in the street based on the report of a stolen mobile phone, referring to the shameful arrest on an Algerian consular agent in Paris on April 11th in total disregard of diplomatic rules and customs. Le Soir d'Algérie recalling the 6-month suspended prison sentence handed down to the national football team player, Youssef Attal, for posting a comment in support of Gaza at the height of the atrocities committed by the Zionist occupation, arguing that in France, justice is nothing more than a political tool, an instrument of repression and a moral smokescreen for an elite that still believes itself to be the master of the world. Going further in its analysis, the national daily newspaper deplores the fact that France does not respond to international warrants issued by Algeria. When it comes to financial criminals who have plundered the wealth of the Algerian people, France suddenly turns amnesiac, deaf and even blind. The international warrants issued by Algiers? Ignored, even blocked, buried in a drawer, notes Le Soir d'Algérie. For its part, the Arabic language daily Al Khabar denounces France's visible support to the terrorist movement MAC. France is opening its doors wide to the MAC, a terrorist organization in Algeria disguised as an innocent association. The media outlet notes the case of the journalist Christophe Glies, which reveals France's perfidy. According to Al Khabar, Christophe Glies was commissioned, financed and prepared by the MAC. This individual came to Algeria disguised as a tourist to pass off separatist fiction as journalistic information. And when the Algerian justice system takes action, Paris cries injustice and plays the press freedom card, as if political espionage disguised as reporting were a sacred right. The newspaper denounces Algeria has no lessons to learn from anyone, and certainly not from a French government in moral decline. The Algerian people have decided to look straight ahead, without permission, without supervision, and certainly without chains.
Well, that was it for tonight. Thank you for watching us. Stay tuned on Canal Algérie. Bye for now.